Hi, and welcome back to a new episode of the HRC Podcast. I'm your host, Mahera Khan, and I'm joined today by my childhood friend, a go to expert in all professional and personal growth, Harish Chaudhary.
Hello, Myra.
Hi, how are you? How have you been?
It's always good to
Yeah.
be back in the studio and
Yes,
shooting
yes, it
again.
is exciting. Today we'll be discussing the Johari window. Johari window is a psychological tool of self-awareness, whether it's with relationships or with anything in your life.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
would you like to expand and let the listeners understand what it's
correct.
about?
So, what we are really doing in our podcast is we're stitching a story, right? So, the first episode we spoke about self awareness. The second episode was random. It's about budgeting life, which is basically what people should do at the beginning of the year. The third episode we spoke about branding. And today we're speaking about Johari Window, which in a way is very, very important when you're doing self branding, super important for self awareness. You can't do your branding without self awareness. Johari Window is the tool
Okay.
as far as self awareness is concerned. And then creating that impact you want to create under your brand, right? Yeah. So in the last episode, we discussed about brand, what your brand should be, what are your brand promises, and Johari Window is going to be the mother tool of helping you
Oh,
get there.
so it'll make you aware of what you're doing exactly in regarding
Absolutely.
your brand.
Yes. So it makes you aware. It tells you your blind spots, and then it also tells you it gives you tools then to make that impact in the outer world,
Okay.
in whether it's relationship, whether it's about what people think about you, so on and so forth. So basically, Johari window is not a new concept. It's an unknown concept, which is very weird, right? Because a lot of people talk about many other topics,
Yeah.
and they're just popular.
Okay.
Johari window, on the contrary, when I discovered this, and when I started reading about the two guys who really brought this in the world. So the paper was written in 1955
Wow.
by
Long
Joseph
back.
and Harry,
Okay.
and therefore Joe Harry.
Okay.
So Johari window, but it's taken different shapes and forms in different parts of implementation.
Okay.
But it's definitely a topic that a lot of people don't talk about.
Yes, I've not heard of the Johari window as of now, and I
Absolutely.
don't know if anybody's been speaking about self-awareness related to their brands and growth related to their brands. So we
Totally.
would like to really expand, and Harish, the listeners would like to know the details of this. Like how
Yeah.
can you apply this in a personal life, in your professional life, in your relationships?
Yeah.
Could you?
So Johari window, as the name suggests, is a window.
Okay.
And any window basically has 4 quadrants.
Right. Absolutely.
So according to Joe and Harry, part of the window, a quadrant which is an open quadrant, there's a blind quadrant,
Okay.
there's a hidden quadrant and an unknown quadrant.
Okay.
So I don't want to go, and really disturb or look at the way they looked at it. I have developed my own way of looking at the Johari window. Highly suggest the viewers to go and read about Johari window. A lot of their paperwork is available in open source and on the internet. The way I look at the 4 quadrant is the first quadrant on the left hand side top is I know what I know. Right next to it on the right hand side is I know what I don't know. The quadrant on the bottom left is I don't know what I know. And then the last quadrant on the bottom right is I don't know what I don't know. So I know what I know. A lot of people think they know this. I know what I know, right? And to a large extent, they are accurate about it. They really know what they know, but they are not 100% right about it because a lot of people have not followed the Johari window. So you've really not taken a sheet of paper, divided into 4 quadrants, and started to write down what you know. So, for the users, especially for people who are just making an assumption saying, I know what I know, let's do this exercise, right? So, take a sheet of paper, just divide into 4 quadrants and start writing down on the first quadrant what you know. You literally can also take 4 pieces of paper, and the first piece of paper is I know what I know, and just start filling it up. I know I can speak English.
Yeah. You
Right.
know what you know, not only in regards to yourself, to your work, to your relationship. That's what you mean. It's not
Absolutely.
only what I know about a certain topic, or if you're studying or a student, you like something about your subject, so you know what you know about the subject. It's
Yeah.
not that. It's
Yeah.
about everything, right?
Yeah, and honestly, that's really it's the first step of self discovery, right?
Yeah.
So just write down, I know what I know, and then you'll realize you start writing things down. The first 5 minutes you just write down so many things, and then you start digging. So now you get into a space where you start, you start writing things down because you're like, I know to speak in French. And then you can write in brackets only like,
A dialect or a thing of that.
yeah, like, I just know I can say hi, hello,
Yeah.
stuff. But how many times have you told yourself that you know that? The minute you realize that, and now you start putting into effect, which we'll discuss, as this episode will progress. But now you start writing things down. I know how to cook, but then now you can say, I know how to cook how many dishes.
Yes.
Just write it down, and you'll be surprised how many things you can cook.
Yes. It's
And
self-discovery in a way.
It is self-discovery, and what it does is it just gives you a tint of confidence.
Right.
It brings you that small smile on your face, saying,
Right, right.
"Oh, I know this."
Oh yeah, I've been doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, like like I know I play badminton.
Yeah.
I know I can play football.
Yes.
I know I can play chess. I can solve a Rubik cube 50%. And now you start realizing, I know all of this stuff. Yeah, it's not a bad thing, right?
Yes, right, right.
So that's the first quadrant. The second quadrant is, I know what I don't know. Now this is a little bit of a tricky place. A lot of people think this is a dark space. This is gray matter. I don't want to touch it. I feel this is honestly the funnest part of it. Saying, I know what I don't know, but this has to be taken into context. So say you picked up a second sheet of paper. You're not dividing the book. So now say you're answering this question from your work. I'm a professional. I work in a bank. Do I know what I don't know? I'm a student. I am preparing for CAT, right? I am a 10th grader. I'm about to write my final exams. Do I know what I don't know? I'm a housewife,
Yes.
right? Do I know what I don't know?
What if I'm a CEO?
Yeah. So like for a CEO, it's super important. You need to understand a lot of people have grown in their life because certain things just naturally comes to them. Like a lot of superstars, for example, right? Like it could be the biggest star in the world, somebody who's just won an Oscar. You could do this exercise saying, do you know what you don't know? Right? It's very important. So for a CEO, it's very important. Like, do they know the blind spot? I know what I don't know in context to the fact that I have great interpersonal skills because CEOs, to get to a CEO, your interpersonal skills have to be amazing.
True.
Your aura is there, and everybody loves you, and you make people really comfortable around you. But I don't know that I'm not a good listener, and this is something that happened to me very recently, by the way. So I went through a 9-month coaching program, and I'll tag my coach in the comment section. And he said, Harish, what's one of the things you do really well? And I said, I say hi to people anywhere. Like, I will say hi. Yeah, I'll say hi to the security guard when I'm getting into office, to the cleaners, to people in the lift. And then when I get into office. And he was like, all of those guys, by the time you got to office, don't matter. But then when you got into office, did you pause and wait for a response?
Yes, that is
And I
something
did
you don't
not.
think about. Yeah.
So I did not know that.
Right.
So now I came to know.
Yes.
So I know what I don't know, which means I now know that though I was saying hi to everybody, hey, what's up, good morning, but I'm not waiting to take for their response, and therefore the impact I was creating on those people was maybe 90%, but not 100%. So for a CEO, some of those things, as you start discovering what you don't know, is super important.
Okay.
So that's really the second quadrant. The third quadrant, again, is I don't know what I know.
I don't know what I know.
Yeah. Now that you may have figured out by the time you were finishing, I know. No, I know what I know, right? The first sheet when you were writing, for all you know, you figure that out. That, oh, this is very weird, but I did take guitar, classes when I was 5 years old, 6 years old. Yeah, but now when I'm 20, 25, I don't know I know that. It's very important. Now, a lot of your friends actually most of the time remind you that you know certain things. Your well-wishers will tell you, your spouses will tell you like, hey, you can do this. Right? So like, I'm not going to cook. I don't know how to cook. It's like, no, you are a great cook, by the way. Go
You
cook.
had cooked this that time, right?
I don't know what I know, and therefore you need to remind yourself that. So, take that activity. This activity is a group activity. So you can right now, if you're doing this activity, and especially for all the viewers, call a friend, ask them 5 things they think They know about you, but I don't know about myself. Um, this is very important because this section, in a way, creates insecurity in your mind. So it's very important for you to know, like, this quadrant has to be full because it takes away insecurities. It also will open up windows of opportunity. A housewife who did not know she's a great cook, did not know that she's a cook to a point where she can now convert cooking into a business, is very important. So don't look at this saying, oh my God, I'm going to call people and I have to now tell them, and they're going to tell me things about me. This is very weird. No, it's not, because you're going to discover certain things and it's going to open windows of opportunity. It's like, if you're at work, go ask your boss, go ask your colleague saying, what are my strengths? Because sometimes they may tell you certain things you do not know about yourself.
Yeah, so that is the whole Johari thing, that self-awareness. You didn't realize that about yourself, and somebody's highlighting that for you.
Absolutely. Like, for a student, for example, like, you are such an amazing, like, there are these, my friends, especially in college, right? They were so good at articulation. I was like, you are an amazing teacher.
Yeah.
So they do not know that. And, and again, it just brings that smile on your face, like the smile.
Because I
you
just
have
got an example in my head. I had told my son recently, then we were walking into an elevator and he held the door for somebody. And that lady just smiled at him. And, so when we went up, I said, you're very polite. I never realized that you were that polite. So he said, oh, Ma, really, thank you. I never knew I was, that had that kind of,
Yeah.
thing about
No,
myself.
this is very important. Huh? So the way the kids look at the world for a very large extent, and then adults make that into a bias
Right.
in their brain, is there are certain behaviors that matter to children. For example, for my son, people being nice matters a lot.
100%.
Okay, now how do you come to that conclusion? Different story altogether. But if I tell my son that you are a very nice person, a lot of times they don't know about themselves, right? So there is it creates insecurity, takes away that tat of confidence that could have come by knowing that. So that is very important. For example, for a CEO, it's very important that, hey, listen, you know what? You are not arrogant. You're busy. And therefore, you ignore people when you're walking from point A to point B, meetings to meeting. So it's sometimes for a CEO, it's important to know that we know you're busy and we don't think you're an arrogant person, because, he did not know that. And therefore, it also adds humanity to his life, right? So a CEO should walk over to his team and sometimes ask them saying, what do I not know about myself? And good things and bad things, obviously. The last window is the window that you really want blank, like, you don't want anything to be on the paper. I don't know what I don't know. So that's again, part of making calls to friends saying, what do I not know, and I don't know about it, right? A lot of people actually, this is also the fourth window happens most of the time because people close themselves. They're not taking frequent feedback. But it's very important to do that, right?
But as far as your career is concerned, I don't know what I don't know. How can you apply that?
Yeah, so it's not an application. It's basically, again, part of self-discovery.
Okay.
A lot of people just close themselves out saying, listen, you know what? I've been in the banking system for 30 years. There's nothing I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not even willing to take a feedback.
Right.
I'm your mom. I've been a housewife for
Yeah.
20 years or 10 years.
Yeah.
So
Don't teach me.
don't teach me.
Right.
Don't teach me how to cook. Don't teach me how to
Do this,
wash
yeah.
utensils. This is my alley, right? So when you go into that alley, the fourth Johari window starts appearing. And I think the problem of this window, the impact this window creates, like the other windows, like other windows create confidence. They open doors for you of opportunity, entrepreneurship.
Might be a little bit insecurity also, because
Yeah.
when they start telling you stuff that you don't want to know, not every person is the kind who takes it well. The point of this Johari window, I think, what I'm understanding is that you take it well, right? The Johari window is making you self-aware and trying to create your persona in such a way that you're growing, right? If
Yeah.
I'm not
As in
mistaken.
this Johari window, you're spot on, opens up relationships.
Right.
So there are conversations that we've stopped having with people. It's like honestly, if I give color to any of the four quadrants, this is a dark color. The fact that you start talking about this window, you're going to just make this window like dark to lighter. because now you're going to realize that there are certain um, conversations, certain people, certain communication elements that you just completely blocked out. And the fact that you did not want to talk about them, I don't know what I don't know. I don't want to know only, right? It's like that.
Right.
You
Yeah.
just put a
You're
stop
rigid.
to
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
What happens is people around you stop giving you that feedback. It's like, I'm never going to tell my mom.
This because she's going to get offended or
Yeah,
she would
she
get,
just doesn't
yeah.
want to talk. Yeah, like my father
Yeah.
never talks about this. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
ये कुछ नहीं बात करना है. So what happens is, as a son, as a daughter, now you go to your friends, to talk about those topics because you just don't want to talk about your father. So for parents, it's very important to talk about this topic because this window in a way has shut down its communication that has been completely, completely blocked out. So if you look at what Joe and Harry were talking about, it's an unknown area. Things about you that neither you nor others are aware of. Yeah, but this is like for me, it's like I don't know what I don't know. So it's really for me, it's a dark space. So
Right.
I constantly when I'm talking to people. So anyway, this is the
Quadrants,
four
basically.
quadrants of a Johari window.
Yeah. So that's like a basic example of people, how can they apply it in their lives and move on with it, right? What do you think is the difference between two quadrants, like the first one and the second one? I know what I know and I know what I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that come along? Like for a normal person, for like we've like dealt with the examples right now, but for a general person, a student or a housewife or any of the, how will they compare it? How
Yeah.
will they apply it?
So you took the best two quadrants, right? I know what I know.
And I know
I
what.
know what I don't know.
Right.
The minute you start writing things on I know what I don't know, technically you moved it to the first quadrant.
Right. Because yeah, now you know.
Now you're aware, right?
Yeah, now you
So
know.
that's the beauty of the Johari window because
Okay.
what is really happening is quadrant 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hmm.
The fourth quadrant items move into the third moves to the second to the first.
Okay. So
Yeah,
it's
because
interlinked in a way.
yeah, it's interlinked because the more you keep writing things down, the more you know. I know what I know. You are becoming so self-aware. Your confidence is life is there. You're just a complete person.
Yeah.
I know I'm not a good driver. Like for me, I keep telling people that my north is missing in my head.
Okay.
I really don't know directions. So if I go to Dubai Mall, I'm the guy who's
I've seen you with Google Maps and
I
Waze.
am using Google Maps in Dubai Mall when I'm walking. I'm absolutely a lost person, right? So I could like drive in the same direction 10 times and then maybe I come to know. I know this. It's very important for me to know this. I communicated to people around me saying, listen, if I tell you this is the direction to Jabal
Just
Ali,
go on the opposite side.
don't listen to me, right? Because then I'm going to get you into trouble. We are going to waste time.
Yeah.
So this is the fun bit of Johari window, right? Because as things move from one quadrant to another, and eventually when they move into the first quadrant, including things that you don't know about yourself, like I can't do this, like I have a handicap of languages. What I've realized is I now tell people that, like when I was in Bangalore and I used to interact with, people around me, I would actually tell them saying, listen, you know what? I wish I could speak Kannada. I'm so sorry. I love your language, but I just have a handicap of languages because that's how my brain is wired. I can't pick languages beyond maybe hi, hello. So I, in a way, envy people who can pick, right? Like I know there are people who can pick 10 languages. Yeah. So, but I tell them, because it's very important for me to tell them that I wish I could learn your language, but I don't have my brain is not wired that way because my brain does 80 things very well and then 80 things I can't do very well. That transparency of communication is going to benefit you immensely rather than not talking about it at all.
At all. That is true. That is true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sometimes telling people that, but how do you tell that if you don't know about yourself?
Yes, true.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
So that is important. See, certain things are going to be intimate. You have to make a choice of telling people that. It's like, would you tell people you're colorblind? I don't know how many people are comfortable talking about it, but I will tell you, one of my best colleagues, like I had his name is Ray, he's in Delaware. And we worked together for a decade, as in very closely on a day-to-day basis. And Ray told me about the fact that he is colorblind. And by the way, his main function was to make presentations. So it was very important for him to figure out the color red because I come from a banking background, so the colors really have a language of themselves, right? So the red means things are trending. in a direction you don't want them to trend, and green is in a direction you want them to. So he knew that, and he knew the color codes, because obviously he saw red as gray, but he knew the color code in PowerPoint that meant red, and he used to write it down on a piece of paper, and then when he's sketching he would go into that and put that code. Told me about it. I had so much of respect when he told me about it. Our relationship completely changed, because when people are vulnerable, you protect them. You start taking care of them. I would have never taken care of him. Like, why should I take care of a guy who's in Delaware who's making more money than I'm making just by the sheer dollar to INR, conversion rates, right? But now all of a sudden I have this sense of trying to take care of him sitting in
So
India.
humanity also comes out, and your prejudgment goes away. I think you're
It's
judging a person, like we in our daily lives. I would understand that we judge not knowingly, or anything we talk about something. So now that if we know that about that person, now you will think 10 times before doing that. I think that's what you meant also. Like,
Yeah, so like like people take care of me when I'm driving, right? So like, okay, Harish, this is how you're supposed to
yes,
come. I'm
I'm
going to give you
here,
the direction,
present.
blah blah blah, right?
Yeah,
So in my opinion, the beauty about the Johari window is it's not only self-awareness; it helps you in your branding.
right.
It also puts people around you in a path of open
How
communication.
would you say in branding? Like now we've spoken more of the personal life. Now you come to, what do you say, any kind of opportunity comes to a person, they start a company or they start some business. How does this help in that? Like professionally, now we're talking about professionalism. How
Yeah.
does it apply there?
So golden rule of branding was you first write down about your brand, like the brand that you want people to know you for,
Okay.
right? Not the fake brand, and you just go watch that episode, like we've discussed, years and you and me
Right.
discussed it, all the steps.
Right.
Now the minute you know this is how people should perceive, using Johari window, you now know that how people are not perceiving you, or you are trying to perceive a brand that you yourself are not projecting in that way, right? Because you yourself don't know that this is how you come across, right? I'm a great communicator, but you did not know that the rate of your speech is so high that you are not a good communicator. So if you want to put yourself out there, so understand your rate of speech. Understand, are you talking to Mahera at this speech? Then when I'm talking to an American, I need to speak in a different speech, at a different rate. When I'm talking to a 10-year-old kid, I have to speak in a different way. You're still speaking English, still speaking a particular language, but now you have to slow down. You have to use annotations in a certain, annotation, by the way, across all communication is amazing. And then you're on a podcast, and now you have to speak in a very different
Manner.
rate.
Yeah. Or rate also,
Yeah.
exactly.
So certain things, if you don't know, it will impact your brand negatively, because the first and most important person who's going to impact your brand is you.
100%.
We're talking about self brand. We're not talking about Nike's brand. What Nike is doing, they're doing for themselves.
Yes.
They have PR agencies. They have 80,000 things that go for them, and it has to all come together for that one company's brand. It's a humongous exercise. We're talking about self branding. The one person who has to constantly work towards your own brand is you. So Johari window is that tool that allows you to make that brand that you want to make out of yourself. That's super important.
Yeah, and you need to keep open, even because, like you said, Johari window, because you need to ask people to get to know about yourself forever. So you have to be open to that. If you're not
Totally.
open to that, you're blocked to it. Even if you're asking somebody, they're not going to give you the true and positive feedback, I guess, or the negative feedback.
Yeah.
Right?
So, if you look at brands, they keep doing surveys, right? Like now in today's world, like, everybody is asking you to give them Google reviews. So, how many times are we doing that? So, Johari window becomes a tool, because you have to not just take a feedback blindly, you take a feedback and then put it in one of the 4 quadrant. Because sometimes the feedback comes and you're like, I do not know that. I'm so good at this.
Yes.
So just don't take a feedback. Take a feedback, push it in that quadrant, and feel good about yourself. So on a Sunday morning, when you get up, you're having coffee. Listen, coffee is my best buddy. Okay. For some people, it's tea and chai and black, or whatever, right? Whatever yours, and different people have their own drinks. So for me, like when I get up on a Sunday morning, I pick a glass of coffee, and I look at the first quadrant of the Johari window. I know what I know. And I look at it, it brings a smile on my
Yeah,
face.
it's confidence
It just gives me
beaming
the
away.
confidence. It
Yeah.
makes me humble.
Right.
It tells me what I don't know also, right? Because now I know I don't know
No, this.
certain things.
Right.
It makes me humble. It's amazing. The other aspect of the Johari window that will work amazingly for you, especially on the concept of branding, because when you're really branding yourself, you should also like write brands that work for you, like a brand statement for you, which is professional, a brand statement which is personal, right? So, what kind of a brand you are in front of as a father? What's your brand as a spouse? What's your brand as a friend? So sometimes when you look at the Johari window, you're like, I'm not giving time to my friends. I have rejected like 4 badminton sessions. Actually, I've done that. So I'm actually giving this real example. I'm on this WhatsApp group and they're booking badminton and I'm skipping them. So, what's my brand as a person who is trying to be part of a community? When the community welcomed me when I moved to Dubai, I was added in a badminton group, I was added in a paddle group, somebody's inviting me in a cycling group. I can do all of this, but I've been ignoring it. So, when you look at this, it just helps you reflect and then say, okay, I think I'm going to make a very conscious effort and I'm going to go for a paddle session next week. Just so that I make everybody, thank them for welcoming me in Dubai,
Incorporating you in a way.
wherever, right? So this is the beauty of the Johari window.
Okay.
In that sense.
So we start with the other segment, the fun segment, that is the Flash 5 rapid fire fun. Okay.
Yes.
What's the one thing you learned about yourself recently?
That I take too much time deciding which restaurant to order food from.
Oh. What's the blind spot you're still working on?
Saying no to things. Like I think I need to like really know when I should tell
Draw the line.
people I'm not going to do it.
Okay. If your life had a theme song, what would it be?
Eye of the tiger.
What's a hidden talent no one knows about?
I can solve a Rubik's cube. No time. It may take me 3 days, but I'll still solve it.
Okay. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be?
Leonardo da Vinci.
Why?
I think he was way ahead of his time.
How do, according to you, back to the Johari window now, how do different listeners benefit from this, like in their personas? For example, professionals, entrepreneurs, for students and young professionals, how can they apply it professionally and use this and grow in whatever area they want to
Yeah.
grow in?
So I'll tell you what, as in when we look at the personas, and every episode will pick a persona, right? Like 2 or 3 personas. In today's episode, you're talking about entrepreneurs. Let's take entrepreneurs as housewives. I always look at housewives to be the biggest entrepreneurs on the planet.
100%.
They do not recognize themselves as an entrepreneur.
And
so this is
nobody
a
else
Johari
also
window.
recognizes them as.
Yeah, so I'm telling you today, all the housewives
Yeah.
who are listening to us,
Yes.
your Johari window is you did not know that.
Yes.
Now you know
Yes.
you're an entrepreneur.
Right.
So, I told you, you don't know that, but now I'm
Now you
telling
know
you,
that.
yeah, you know. Because these, they are entrepreneurs because what is an entrepreneur trying to do? They're launching their business. They're trying to run their business the cheapest way, fastest way, in the and in the most better way, right? Every housewife is trying to cook the best food better than the housewife
you.
next door.
Yeah,
क्या
100%.
पक्का है ना सब लोग कर रहे हैं.
100%.
You're running a monthly budget. So you are an entrepreneur because that's what all startups are trying to do. You're trying to create a product which is cheaper than the other product.
Right.
And speed,
Yeah.
right? Because you're trying to send your
Children
kid
to school and do activities.
speed matters.
Yeah.
So they are the biggest entrepreneur on
That
the
is
planet.
true.
They
That
just don't know that.
Yes.
How does it benefit them? First things first. Every housewife has a superpower they don't know about themselves. That superpower, that skill that they're really good at, if they figure it out, which is make 2 phone calls, right? Make a phone call to your sibling if you have one. Make a phone call to your parents if they're still alive. Make a phone call to your friends. I'm very sure all housewives know have a friends. Make these 3 phone calls and you will know about that superpower. That superpower allows you to launch a business today. You don't have to launch that business today. Right? But that's the beauty about the Johari window. Just write it down on a piece of paper, stick it on a board in the house, on the fridge. Take a magnet, just stick it. Write it down saying, "Oh my God,
I'm good at this.
I did not know that
Yeah.
everybody
Things.
is in love with my breads. Everybody is in love with my pickles. You see what I'm saying? Everybody loves the way I dress. Now you can be an influencer, by the way. You can help people know how to dress up. Especially in areas where culture sensitivities are there. If you know how to dress, now you can teach other people how to dress culturally sensitive clothing. how do you dress for success at work? Because all of a sudden people say, you are so good, yeah. Like I've seen you every day. You dress, you pick a color in different parts of the week, and things like that. It's amazing. I'm telling you. And some of those can just open up your mindset.
Yep, like now that you're saying this, I remember one of my aunts that I knew, and she was also, she is still a housewife. And when we were kids, one of my cousins had a school function and she had to get him ready. Okay. So even for a boy, when she did his makeup or the touch-ups, he's going to go on stage and how is he going to look, she did a brilliant job.
Yeah.
So then I thought, she could have actually had a career in probably, makeup and getting people ready and whatever, and she doesn't even know about it.
Yeah.
She's
As
not
in,
even aware.
honestly, this podcast was supposed to be a solo podcast. So if you see the first 2 episodes, I'm just talking randomly on the camera with a couple of guys on Zoom. We started speaking here because I know your communication skill is good. When we discussed it, now you know your communication is good. You have the confidence to now face the camera, and we have this show going on.
100%.
This is the power of the Johari window.
Right. Yeah.
So coming to the second persona of working professionals, it is very important. Like if working professionals don't follow Johari window, or you're following it unconsciously, it's working for you. The Johari window, if done unconsciously, will only work for 2% of the people, because only 2% of the people will do it right without knowing they're doing it right. The other 98-99% have to follow the Johari window. The day you start following the Johari window, your life is going to change. You're going to be more successful at work. You'll be in a professional that you enjoy. You'll find a workplace that you enjoy working in, because sometimes you also need to know you're not enjoying in this workplace.
Yeah, true.
You're really good at it. You've got like 3 promotions in the last 2 years. This is not what I'm enjoying doing. People who are in professional sports, acting, like they're facing the world, they all follow Johari window.
Yeah.
Now, their coaches don't tell them it's Johari window because, like I said, Johari window paper was released in 1955. It's taken different shapes and forms, and therefore different people have different names for it. But people have told Cristiano Ronaldo which part of the within football you're not good at, which is your strength. So you need to play to your strengths. It's very important for them, especially as sportsmen, to play that.
Right.
If you're in cricket, for example, right? Cricket, your margin of error is absolutely not there, because within 1 centimeter you'll nick a ball and you'll get out.
Right.
So margin of error is not there for a batsman, at least, right? Because a bowler can get hit for a 6 and then you can come back and bowl another ball unless that was the last ball of the inning. It is very important for them to know their strengths. It's very important for them to know their weakness. It's very important for them to know that I'm not going to play to my weakness, I'm going to play to my strength. Because certain sports, you got to do that. Certain sports, you need to ensure that you work on your weakness and make that into a strength. So, for working professionals, it's very important to follow Johari window. Like, do not leave it for guesswork. Do not leave it for your bosses to keep writing all the wordings in your Johari window as well. Because if you start making one person write down all the 4 quadrants,
then you're doomed in a way.
Yeah.
But saying this, like, how much time do you think one person should give a Johari window? Like, we are talking about it at length because this is our topic. But as a person now who's a student or an entrepreneur, like you said, or a housewife, how much time would they give to these 4 quadrants in a day or in a week or in a month, according to you?
Yeah. So, it's very funny, right? Every time, for a very large period of my career, I've opened every call and the first thing we discuss is weather. Because weather is a topic that everybody has an opinion on. Yeah. It's a very neutral topic.
Yes.
You see, the weather is bad in your country. The weather is good in my country. How does it matter? Your opinion of what the weather is going to be during the day and what is my opinion during the day has no meaning. The conversation, and immediately after you discuss weather for 2 minutes, you can go back to doing business. Now think about, like, try doing that with the religion. Try doing that with what the markets are going to do today. Today, immediately there is sourness.
Yeah.
So I have used weather to open my calls. It gets everybody talking, and then you get into the calls. So Johari window, do that. What you do is make it into a habit, right? So say there are 4 friends, we're catching up for brunch on a Sunday. Just insert Johari window somewhere. Just insert one of the questions saying, or play a game, by the way. Saying, hey guys, 8 of us, we're going to play a game. We're going to tell each other strength you don't know about yourself. Yeah, don't do weakness upfront because
Okay. It's a little tricky.
yeah, do it after a few drinks. Then people take it with a sense
Pinch
of,
of salt.
yeah, take it with a pinch of salt, take it with a sense
Yeah.
of humor also,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But don't start with strengths. It's an amazing icebreaker. And then when you're with your bosses, you can insert that question, insert it somewhere saying, what do you think is my strength that I don't know about myself? Amazing questions to have because, just again, adds that flavor of confidence. And then sometimes, once in a while, do ask a question, hey, what do I not know about myself that I should know to improve myself? But I would say, like, don't spend too much of time just opening up the floodgates and saying, keep
Yeah.
telling me what I don't
Well,
know.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's
it's
the
like a
problem.
deterrent because, you're just
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to pile up this
Yeah.
100 kgs on your head.
True, true, true.
Your self confidence is distorted. And then, if people who followed certain pieces of the brand episode will understand how to ask these questions from a branding perspective as well, saying, what do I not know about myself because it impacts my brand as well, right? So, yeah, it's interconnected. Make it into a habit. I do that all the time. By the way, this is an activity I tell everybody, especially in the Uber app. If you go to the hamburger menu, right, the three bars, and you click that, do you know that in the Uber, after you've given your rating, all Uber drivers are giving you the rating as
I was
well.
not aware of this at all.
Yeah, just go to the hamburger menu and you see your score.
Wow.
So yeah, so you'll see 4.2 and anywhere between 4.2,
We
4.7.
need to check that.
Listen, that's a feedback, right? Because
yeah.
it's how you behaved and what they felt
They
about.
about you. That's important
Yeah, it's
too.
very important for the captain to tell you because they can't tell you on your face, right? But right after the ride, they're giving you a score. So I looked at my score many years back and I was at about 4.1 and I've improved it to 4.6 or 4.7, wherever it stands now. So I'm trying to be polite to them. I'm striking a conversation. I'm keeping a smile on my face.
Yes. You're
It's
trying to
very
be
important.
better than what you were.
It's very important. So,
Yes.
listen, feedback doesn't have to only come from a place of position. I'm only going to take feedback from people who are above me.
Yeah, or who you think are relevant to you. It's not
Yeah,
only
as in
that.
just take feedback from everybody. Yeah, like make
Yes,
it into a
yes.
habit. You don't have to spend any time on it.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, I highly suggest people please make the 4 quadrants, play 4 pieces of paper,
For better
write it
understanding.
down. Yeah, and then just make it part of your daily routine.
So, Harish, regarding the Johari window, before we started prepping for this episode, I wanted to ask a few people questions,
Yeah.
like in my network, in my friend circle, and I wanted to know what they have to say or what do they have to ask so that, I can ask you that in a way. So, I have a
Yeah.
few questions, so I'll just shoot them. So, how do I figure out my blind spots if no one gives me an honest feedback? That's what they want to know. That you might ask a question, but they're not giving you a reality check, or they're not giving you real feedbacks.
Yeah, this happens in the professional world a lot, right? Because people can't be overly honest with you in a workspace, right? But it's a design. It's a if I try to be overly honest, then what happens is I'm crossing boundaries within the culture of that organization. There are certain do's and don'ts. So that happens all the time in a workspace. So what you're supposed to do is you're just supposed to diversify the kind of people you're asking feedback from and remove your bias. Like, who are you to decide whether it was honest or not? How do you know it was not honest? Because you want to listen to certain things. You want people to say certain things that matter. So, in my opinion, don't keep a bias. Just take the feedback, take a note down, go look at, like I said, on a Sunday morning, read everything. Eventually, what will happen is you will broaden the horizon of people you're taking feedback from. Again, it's very important who you ask the
Questions too.
questions. What are you asking? Select your audience, remove the biases, remove your self bias. Listen.
Yeah.
Don't hear.
Yeah.
Listen.
True.
Hearing is what physically is happening. If you
Right.
say something, I hear.
Yeah.
Am I listening?
Yeah.
Listening is sometimes the best way to listen is write down.
Yes.
If you want to ever become a good listener, start taking notes.
Okay.
When you start taking notes, that time,
You're reinforcing the whole thing.
absolutely.
Right? True.
Don't react, right? So, yeah, so it will happen. So, workforce, I'll say there is this whole science of 360 degree. So, what you do is, depending upon who you are, take feedback from two people below your designation, because in any organization, there's a designation, yeah, right? So, wo hai. Listen, just accept it. It's okay. So, two people with designations below you, two people with designation equal to you, two people above you. I reached a point when I used to do 10 each. 20 each. So 360, that's called 360-degree feedback. It takes away the fact of honesty. It will bring a 360 rounded view will come. If you're a housewife, you can do the same thing. Yeah. Like take feedback from two people who interact with you daily. Take feedback from two people that don't interact with you daily.
Your kids, and then think
Yeah,
they also.
you create a horizon,
Yeah.
so two people who live in my community, two people who don't live in my community. So take feedback from when you meet parents, when you drop your kid to school, when you're picking them up, when you meet people for brunch, that time you ask, so
Right.
people are close to you, people who are not
Not
close to you.
Okay.
Those are the things. CEOs, because we picked that as a persona in today's episode, there's an organized way of doing it. Like they need to hire coaches. The coaches have to go around, take feedback.
Yes.
Because they are in a position of power.
People are not going to directly come to their face and start giving them feedback. Yeah, true.
Like they are the last, they unfortunately for a lot of people in position of power, nobody is honest to you.
True.
That is how the world is designed.
Yes.
So if you are a prince of a country, please have people take feedback. You should have people who take feedback for you, right? And brands do that all the time, right? Like you'll have people taking surveys about the brands and services because people are not honest. So sometimes just take too many feedback. Sometimes, then the honesty factor also gets averaged out and you get a sense of where you stand.
Okay. So the next question would be, can my blind spots change over time or are they fixed?
Amazing. So if you ask a sports person, if you ask Sachin Tendulkar that question, he'll say that every day he found a blind spot and it kept changing. It changed when a blind spot meant differently when he was playing in India, meant completely different when he was going and playing in New Zealand. The pitches were bouncy.
Right.
So what was his strength in India became a blind spot.
True.
So you see what happens is it's contextual. It changes over a period of time. It should change over a period of time. My strength of driving in India becomes a weakness in Dubai. You see, because
right hand, manual.
No,
everything.
maneuvering in India is a strength.
Oh, yeah.
You can't maneuver on Sheikh Zayed Road at 100 kilometers an hour. So what is your strength in one environment, in one company? All of a sudden you change your company. You're still in the financial world. You changed from JP Morgan to Morgan Stanley. You need to understand that context change. So blind spots have to change. You should know what you don't know all of a sudden. You went from a very well-established company, you took a promotion, you went to a small-scale company. A lot of people do that actually, that they are at an associate level. They go to a vice president level in a startup because they needed that. They needed your enterprising knowledge. And now you joined a startup. All of a sudden, now you should know in this environment, a lot of your strengths have become weaknesses. You don't know how to work in an enterprising entrepreneur organization and things like that. So it's contextual. It will change over a period of time. It should change over a period of time. Don't feel bad about every time you're discovering new things. Amazing. The beauty about Johari Window is it's a roller coaster ride that you are deciding at what speed and height it's going.
Right.
I don't like roller coaster rides. So if I decide a roller coaster ride, my Johari Window,
temperament,
I'm
pace.
loving it. Yeah, it's decide your own course. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the next question would be, how do I expand my open area without oversharing personal stuff, which is also an important
Absolutely.
thing. Because you could just go into a personal space and just not get
Yeah, so
to the point.
the example I gave you about somebody sharing that they are colorblind. Listen, don't do certain things because I'm telling you to do it. It's part and principle of Johari Window. Listen, do it. Yeah, do it at your own pace. Be vulnerable when you want to be. Be vulnerable with only people you trust. Sometimes you'll be vulnerable because, listen, the point of discussion is vulnerability. If you're exposing your strength to people, there's no harm in it. You please understand that, right? Because it's okay to do that. The problem really occurs when you're opening yourself to vulnerable, especially with leaders. For a CEO to openly tell people, I am not good at it, I am feeling vulnerable in this particular space, takes a lot of courage. And sometimes you will do it. Even at a personal level, you may end up being vulnerable in a kitty party, in a brunch. And people will take you out of context. They'll make fun of you. I feel whenever you're vulnerable, it comes from a position of strength. During COVID, every CEO was giving a speech. They were trying to talk to their organization. They were trying to talk to their end users, right? Because those are the two people you had to talk about. Go see this speech from the CEO of Marriott. In my opinion, I've never seen a speech which was honest. He was vulnerable because he cries in the speech. He's very honest. He talks about mistakes they made as an organization. In my opinion, a lot of people would have seen the speech, called him and said, what the hell did you just do? You just exposed not only yourself, you exposed the whole company. You spoke about all the mistakes you made. And the reaction from his team and the reaction from all the loyal customers of Marriott is a game-changing case study.
Yeah.
So listen, everything doesn't happen in your favor all the time.
Right.
It's a journey. I have made myself vulnerable to people. I sometimes look back and say I should not have done it.
Yeah.
It's totally okay. 90%, 70% of the time, even 51% of the time it worked positively.
Is it possible to completely remove all the blind spots, or will it always have some?
No, you can't. As in, if you completely remove all the blind spots, you're God.
This is a big and wide one. So, does this concept work differently for introverts versus extroverts?
Yeah, listen, I think we will do an episode on introverts and extrovert. Yeah. Because I'm an introvert, but extrovert by choice. And when I tell, listen, you'll realize that in all the episodes of this podcast, these are all sciences I have created. For all you know, these are incorrect sciences. In the real world, if you now take an interview, we bring and we will do this in the future. We'll have an actual psychiatrist, somebody who's written a PhD, written a paper on Johari Window. This is my science, right? Because I twisted the Johari Window and I made it. Listen, these are science that work for me. Therefore, I'm sharing my real life example to the whole world.
So, I have seen you be successful, and that's not a bias. That's the truth that I've seen you be successful. So, when I would always say that a person who's in that position, if he's trying to or she's trying to give you any kind of a feedback, or they're trying to give you some tips and tricks for your career, for your life, for your growth, it's worth a listen.
Yeah.
It's worth a
Success, by the way,
Yeah.
means different to different people.
That is true.
I was successful according to my friends 10 years back,
True.
but I'm still hunting for success. So that's a
True.
different conversation.
True.
Introvert and extrovert is a conversation we should have,
Yes.
and we'll have that in the coming episodes.
True.
So for an introvert like me who has chosen to be extrovert, the Johari window will work differently because my brand that I've been working on my brand for the last 16, 17 years. Since I got introduced to self-branding concept, I started applying it in my real life. My brand that I've created is a brand that requires me to be extrovert. That's it, period. And that brand has worked for me. I'm successful in my own right, and the goals I've kept, the vision and all that stuff, it's worked for me. So yes, it will work different to different people. It also goes to the first question you are saying, am I overexposing myself? Introverts by design don't like to discuss certain topics. Listen, if it doesn't come to you, it's going to disturb you, it's going to throw you in a different direction.
Don't need to get into it.
Don't get into it.
Yes.
Yeah,
True.
do it at your pace. Extroverts sometimes have to slow down. Introverts have to fast track, but fast track when you want to, and things like that. Yeah, so it will work differently for introverts and extroverts. But the science, the fundamental 4 quadrants are not going to change. You have to discover it. You have to fill the paper. You have to start writing more and more things in each of the 4 quadrants.
Because now that you've said this, I'm reflecting on myself to realize that, as an entrepreneur, I've just started my business a while back. And I am also an introverted extrovert because I realized the thing about myself that when I'm with people, people might think, oh, let's party, let's meet every week, or let's whatever. Party in the sense, okay, just gather around or be with people. But after that, I need a break. Like if I'm with people one day, I need a break of 4 days. I didn't realize that about myself. But somebody once told me, something, you're not an introvert and you're not an extrovert either. You're an introverted extrovert. So that means so again, I realized something about myself.
If I do a survey with 100 people who know Mahera, everybody will say you're an extrovert.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
But I would never see myself like
Yeah.
that because when I would come back from the extroverted thing, I would feel, no, I'm drained now and I need 15 days without people. But my career choice that I've made is dealing with people every day.
Yeah, exactly.
So then I have to, of course, like you're saying, put it in the quadrants and think what do I know about myself, what I don't know about myself. And
So like a lot of movie stars and, I have a lot of respect for Shah Rukh. And in one of his interviews, he mentions that, there is, during the interview, he will actually go lock himself in a place, right? Like whatever it is, it's a room or one of his
Vans, vanity vans.
vanity
Yeah.
vans, and he starts reading a book, and he'll come out when he's finished, whenever he feels he's done. So that's he's feeding his introvert nature.
Yeah.
For me, I will just on a Saturday, 9 to noon, I've not spoken to anybody,
Disconnect.
which is very difficult for me to do in the extrovert brand that I'm working on.
This is what
in
I
my
meant.
career,
Right.
because I'm constantly chatting with people. I have 2 WhatsApp channels.
So we'll take the last question then for the day. What one quick exercise I can do today to improve my self-awareness?
No, Johari Window.
Of course.
That's what you're going to do. Like take a sheet of paper, cut it into 4 quadrants, or
Yeah.
just take one piece of paper
Yeah.
and say this is the quadrant.
Yeah.
Listen, you don't have to go 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
You could just start at the any of the quadrant. And
Yes.
as in, I keep telling people the first quadrant is the best quadrant in the world, which is I know what I know.
Yes.
Just write down and discover what you know, discover your strengths, discover your weaknesses. It's a beautiful journey.
Okay. So basically, I think I as of what I understand is I hope the listeners have understood what the Johari window is, the framework, and how it's applicable to each and every one. And if anybody has more questions, please feel free to comment and to ask us anything related to Johari window, or any other questions, or anything more you need to know about us related to Johari window also, whether it's
Yeah.
Harish or me. And so please be tuned for the next episode, and please like, share, and subscribe. And we are signing off, Harish and me. Thank you.
Take care, guys.